Hi guys, I am back and we are going to be talking about drumroll. It is March 1st, and you know what that means? It is birthday month and anniversary month for my household. So, we have quite a big month ahead of us. The one that I'm wanting to kind of slowly get into, slowly but not so slowly, is my adoption and another adoption. We're going to start with mine and kind of go from there so we can kind of explain my backstory on this. I was adopted at birth, so I had an open adoption. My dad's sister is my biological mother. It's kind of a fun little circle here. And I grew up knowing this. Now, I knew the whole story, but it wasn't until about 13 that I started kind of wanting to question and kind of grasping what it meant. So, a fun little backstory to my adoption was about 2 years before my aunt got pregnant, my mom and dad had pretty much decided after my older sister that they weren't going to have kids. My dad didn't want any more kids, so they made it to where they can't have kids. That time, that's what exactly they wanted. Well, about 2 years before my aunt got pregnant, my mom had a dream, and where God pretty much told her, "You are going to have another child." And he talked about it to her, and she wrote it down, and she just prayed for 2 years because her husband didn't really necessarily want another child. She knew that was going to happen eventually, so she was just like, it's God thing. Well, then they found out from my aunt's coworker that she was pregnant, and that she was slightly kind of trying to figure out what she was going to do, whether it was adoption or abortion and different things. And my parents piped up, and they're like, well, actually, my dad told my mother the day he found out that he wanted to adopt his sister's baby. And my mom was just like, what? Because she knew for 2 years that this was eventually going to happen. She just didn't know when. She didn't know what was going to change her husband's mind. She just knew we're going to have another baby at some point. So they ended up they adopted me. I knew from birth. It was a very interesting thing growing up knowing that, because my biological father, I don't remember him very much. He was here and there until I was about 6, and then he kind of just fell off the grid. And I tend to keep biological and parents separate, and people don't realize the fact of why from my point of view, which is kind of an interesting one in the sense of I got adopted. The people who raised me chose me. We will even go that far. Every baby's loved. I was the baby that was loved so much that I was picked. And it's a amazing feeling to know that you are loved so much that you got chosen. So growing up, I never really saw an interest to basically being like, I have 2 moms and 2 dads and all this stuff, because to me I didn't. I had my biological family, and then I had my actual parents. Growing up with that was very fun because eventually my aunt had another child, and that turned into my actual biological full sister. Growing up, cousin. So growing up, we were told we looked like each other all the time, which was kind of comical, considering For a little while, she didn't even know, and I was just like, oh, fun story. So, I got to grow up with pretty much getting to know my biological mother. Didn't really get to know my biological father that much, but from everything, there's a time and a place, and that wasn't the time or the place. I got to have her at Christmases, birthdays, all these times, and it was cool because, like, growing up, I knew who she was. And it was just kind of like an awe moment of, oh, this is just weird. Like, wacko weird, because I actually grew up with my biological mother as my aunt. And my parents as my parents. Like, it's one of those weird things trying to explain it, because it's just kind of like my dad's sister, my biological mother. What? To which to some, it's kind of a weird thing, but to others, it's kind of understood. So, growing up, that's what was happening. Well, when I got older, started asking questions, and I found out more things about the adoption, and it's always just been on my heart for that type of thing. Like, I've been inspired to promote adoption over abortion because of my personal history with it. And it's a nifty story to hear about how my mom knew 2 years before even my aunt got pregnant. And let me tell you what, that was a God thing. Because by no means do I want to sound biased, but if I hadn't been adopted and lived with my parents and had the path that I took then, I most likely would have never met my husband. I most likely wouldn't be where I am now. And it's one of those things where you have to, like, it goes to show that everything there is a reason. Every move, every decision, it has a consequence, but it also has a reward. And I got very lucky that I got blessed with such a loving family. I have a mother who is stubborn. I mean, tell you what, like, I thought I was stubborn. And the joke in the family is all, like, my dad's side, and, like, me, my dad, my grandmother, we're all, like, stubborn as all get out. Yeah, I'm not my mother. Oh. And it always is weird to me because people always ask me, which mother are you talking about? And I don't have more than one mother. I don't have more than one father. I have one. I have my mom and dad, and then I have my aunt. And it's a respect aspect. Like, when I was going through a bit of a bad spot, of course I called everyone by all the different titles, but it's the matter of who was there through every single thing. Who literally raised you from birth, that is who has the title. So, in future, I've had people in my life ask me this, which person am I talking about? Anytime I mention mother or dad, it's the ones that adopted me. So, I have a mother who is completely stubborn, which was such a good thing for me because growing up, being able to see just how you can be stubborn, but you can also be stubborn in loving someone. You can be firm and it not be this crazy emotional firm, like, you have to do it my way. It's taken me years to say that. So, I'm not expecting everyone overnight to be like, oh yes, I fully agree, because it's taken me a long time to get to that point. But, funny enough, me and my father, our personalities are, like, mirrored. And it's the funniest shit in the world because my husband works with my dad. My husband has also met my grandmother. All of us are pretty much the same personality, and it's the funniest thing in the world because we are all stubborn. We're all problem solvers. We're all blunt as all get out. Like, we have no filter. And it's funny to me because, like, hearing how close me and my dad are in personalities and how, like, people, like, as I get older, the more I see, like, yeah, I'm definitely a very big part of my dad, but I'm also a very big part of my mom. And it's so cool to think it through that basically I may be adopted, I may not be my mother's flesh and blood, but miraculously her personality steeped through me and is a part of me. And that's what I find about adoption really cool because, like, you'll always have the traits of your biological parents. I mean, I got my height, my hair, my eyes. Like, I got a lot of things from my biological parents. But when it comes down to the personality and how they, like, trait-wise go, it's so cool to see that people that aren't even flesh and blood have such a connection. So with this one, it's going to be a two-parter. We have my stories in one part, and then we have my other one, my other story, which is my close to heart one. Probably a word of advice for this one. Don't be so quick to judge someone who has been adopted. It's not from lack of being loved. I mean, everyone could be in a spot where they're stressed and don't know what to do. It's realize just how awesome it is that someone loved them that much that they chose them. So this one's going to be a little bit shorter. The next one will probably be a little bit longer, and I'll go a little bit more in detail. But I wanted to give a little bit of a backstory on my adoption before I get into the rest. So I hope everyone's having a good day. I'm enjoying Oklahoma's weather today, at least. We'll see how the rest of the week goes. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!